Hello viewers, today is November 4th, 2024. I'm here to share my thoughts and opinions on the US presidential elections 2024. There it is, tomorrow is going to be the election day. So today I would like to look at North Carolina in terms of early voting one last time to see exactly where we are in terms of early voting in North Carolina. As you'd have seen in the prior days, I have kept North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania as too close to call states that are more or less tied. So I just want to, and even Wisconsin. So those four states. So, but I would like to look at North Carolina today and see where we are in terms of early voting. So let's go straight into the presentation. There we go. As usual, you are looking at the map as per the 2020 results, and you could see that there are counties that are Democratic, that are marked in blue. That's basically the Raleigh, Durham area here. And then you've got the Charlotte area. So you see these huge population centers voting for the Democrats, and pretty much across the board on other extended suburbs and exurbs and the rural areas are voting for Donald Trump. We will come back to this map again later on, but let's look at the numbers first. So as of this morning's data released by the government, which is basically the end of the day totals from yesterday, and the total ballots cast were 4,453,339 out of 7.8 million eligible voters. That amounts to around 56.88% of the registered voters have already voted. Within that, the breakup is around 4.2 million in-person early voting, close to 200,000 civilian by mail, and the military is around 7,000, and the overseas is another 18,000. So that gives you the 4.4 million odd votes that has been cast so far. Then let's look at the next table, which has got the registration by party, and then the early votes by party here. So if you look at the registration by party, Democrats constitute 31.28% of the eligible voters. Republicans constitute 29.89% of the eligible voters, and unaffiliated independents are 37.79% of the eligible voters. The rest of them were insignificant. Among these, we got 1.4 million registered Democratic votes. That's basically a 58.86% of the registered Democrats have voted, and that aligns well with our state average of 56.88%. If you look at the Republican voters, they are like 1.48 million voters that has turned out for early voting, and that amounts to 63.33% of the early voting of the registered Republican votes. That's a very good number. That's again higher than 56. That's a very good thing. And then if you look at the unaffiliated, they are 37.79% of the eligible voters, out of which 1.4 million people have voted. So independents have also voted in good number. Then the proportion, this column is basically what is the proportion of the electorate as per the 4.4 million votes. So 32.37% are Democrats, 33.29% are Republicans, and 33.62% are unaffiliated or independent. So if you look at this, Democrats in that state, they constitute 31.28% of the electorate, and out of which the proportion of the early ballots is 32.27. So it's slightly higher, not significantly higher. But if you look at the Republicans, they constitute 29.89% of the total electorate, eligible voters, but they have come out in larger numbers, close to around 3.5% more than the 29.89 average in terms of the state registered voters count. Then you look at the independents, they are like 37.79% of the eligible voters. They have come out, their share of the early voting percentage is 33.62. So the Republicans, if they really look at this number, they should be fairly happy that they are slightly overperforming their number in terms of their percentage among registered active voters. Democrats, they must be thinking they're doing okay, not as good as Republicans, but still they are overperforming by a point here. Independents, unfortunately, are underperforming as of now. Let's see what happens on election day tomorrow and see if more independents show up tomorrow. So on the face of it, if you look at this number, Republicans should be thinking, okay, fine, I have a good feel for my folks who are coming out and they are voting in larger numbers and they must be reasonably happy. Then if you go into the next slide, in terms of race, whites constitute 63.71% of the registered voters. Blacks constitute 19.65% of the registered voters, and the others are 16.64. And now you compare that with the early votes. They are 63.71%. That turnout is 61.71%, 76%, sorry. And then blacks, they are 51.59% because 793,000 people have come out of the 1.5 million. Similarly, out of the 3.08 million people have voted among the 4.9 million. So still it's 61% of these registered voters. This is 51.59 of these registered voters. And this is 44% of these registered voters here. But then you look at the proportion again. This is basically the proportion of the electorate in terms of early votes. So 69% of the early votes are white, white by gender, and then 17.83% is black not by gender, sorry. 69.18% are white by race, and 17.83 are black by race, and the other race constitute 12.99% among the early voters so far. Then you look at ethnicity. I don't even know why they track this, but I don't know why they track this, but the government of North Carolina tracks this Hispanic or Latino, and then not Hispanic or not Latino. So this not Hispanic or not Latino is going to include whites, blacks, and everybody, and under-designated is another 29%. But then right now, Hispanic or Latino, they are only 2.84% of the early voting voter composition. Not Hispanic or not Latino is 69.47, and undesignated is 27.69% of the early voting voter composition. Then you look at registration by gender. There are 3.8 million odd female voters and 3.2 million odd male voters. And that constitute 49.22% of the registered voters, and this one is 49.95%. So among the early votes, 59.75% of the registered female voters have voted, and 55.83% of the registered male voters have voted, and undesignated 45.88% of the undesignated voters have voted. When you look at the proportion, this is the important number here. In terms of the electorate composition, voter composition as per the early votes, 51.69% of them are female, 41.18% are male. That means there is a 10% gap between the female voters and male voters. And this is a lot higher than what we ended up last time. So this is a number that we should look at tomorrow. Then let's look at the next slide. These are the top 10 counties in terms of the population, and how I'm just comparing the 2020 winners in those top 10 and then the early voting in those top 10 counties. So you look at Wake. Right now we have close to 500,000 voters. This was won by Biden, and the 2020 total was 631,000 odd votes. And the margin for Biden was a very good margin of 167,000. So early votes are already 79.997% of the 2020 total. So I'm sure tomorrow we are going to see this number go up to close to 650 or even 670,000 is my guess. Let's wait and watch. Then Mecklenburg, again, city of Charlotte and its suburbs. Totally 456,000 odd voters have voted so far. In 2020, that was won by Biden. The 2020 total was 567. Again, I would say that this is going to hit 600,000 or close to 600,000 tomorrow. Let's wait and watch. And 80% of the 2020 voters have already voted so far. Then Guilford, same, if you go down that list, 79.8% of those voters have voted. This is again a Biden county. He won by around 65,000 votes last time. Forsyth, again, this is another growing county. I'm going to say that this number is going to go higher than 201,000. This is a very growing county. And again, 82% of the 2020 total has voted. I'm sure that we are going to see more voters from Forsyth this time. Durham, again, it's growing. 85% of the 2020 vote totals voters have already voted. That means we are going to see a higher number here as well. It's also, again, a growing county. Wincom, close to around 77% of the 2020 electorate has already voted. This is another county that is won by Biden. I hope to see a better number here also tomorrow after the polls close tomorrow. Then we are looking at the Hanover, the new Hanover, Union County. This is a very big county, and if you see, Trump won this by a good margin, around 31,000 odd votes. 86% of the 2020 electorate has already voted. And I'm sure this is going to cross 150. And the Trump campaign should be very happy at the voter participation from Union County as of now. But there is a story behind this story. I will come to that when we get to the map. Then New Hanover, again, 79, close to 80% of the people from 2020 voters have already voted. Again, I would see a better turnout than the 2020 turnout in this county as well. Cumberland, the same story, even though the voter participation is slightly lower, it's only 70% of the 2020 voters. Let's wait and watch to see if Cumberland exceeds the 147,000 that they got in 2020 or not. Then Johnston is another county that's won by Trump. He won by a good margin of 27,000 odd votes, and a whopping 90% of the 2020 electorate has already voted. That means we are going to see a significant increase in this number at the end of the polling tomorrow in Johnston County. So let's look at Johnston and Union on the map and see where they are and why there will be a significant increase. So let's go back to the map. Look at where Johnston is. This is in this larger Raleigh, Durham area adjacent to Wake County. Trump wins this county by a good margin, but again, I was told that there are a lot of new voters. This is an extended suburb and exurbs, just like what I had discussed about Georgia. So Trump will still win this county, but the Democrats are hoping that they will reduce his margin here because of a lot of new voters, and then it's an extended suburb and an exurb of the Raleigh-Durham area. So that's one thing. And then you look at the other one was, let's go back and look at the other county that we were looking at. One was Johnston. The other one was Union. So if you look at Union, that's right next to the Charlotte and the suburbs. And generally he wins, Trump wins this particular county by a huge margin, but the margin has been getting reduced in the last 3 cycles. And the Democrats think that they are going to further reduce this margin here. And not only that, you're going to see a lot more votes in this county this time. So you look at Johnston and Union, again, it's an extended suburb, exurbs. And the Democrats are hoping that they will do better than what they did in 2020 in these two counties. And then I'm going to call out a couple of counties that are close to the Raleigh-Durham area. Alamance is one, and Granville is another, Franklin is another. These three counties, Trump won, but in some of these counties, his margin was not that high in terms of number of votes. These are relatively smaller counties, but still, if you are looking at the election results tomorrow, let's look at these smaller counties adjoining the Raleigh-Durham area and see whether Trump is outperforming the 2020 numbers. If Trump is not outperforming the 2020 numbers in these three counties, then you can look at North Carolina as a true battleground state that might go to Kamala Harris. Then again, I will also look at Union. If Donald Trump is at least doing as well as 2020 or better, they would like to do better if possible. So if he is doing better or as good as his 2020 numbers, then Trump will say that, I know it's going to be close, but he might be able to pull it through. Trump would be very happy if this comes back and as the same percentage as in 2020 for him. So if you're really watching these numbers in North Carolina, I'm talking about this because North Carolina closes a little early. It's on the East Coast, and I believe by 7 p.m. you will be getting some numbers. Not lots, but the counting will start by 7, I guess. The polls close at 6:30, I believe. So you will see some numbers from North Carolina. So look at these counties: Granville, Franklin, Alamance, and then Union. And also you can look at Johnston and see exactly how Trump is performing. In fact, I would even go further and look at Wayne as well. And if Trump is doing as well as 2020, I think he's going to have a good night, and he might pick up the state of North Carolina. If not, I do believe that Kamala Harris has a very good chance of picking up North Carolina. So you might ask, why North Carolina today? I do believe that the Trump campaign feels that the race in North Carolina is very, very close, because you saw Trump visit North Carolina for the last 3 days. You always need to follow the money and follow where they are. So if they are going to North Carolina repeatedly in the last 4 days of the election cycle, then that means that they are seeing something that internally that we are not aware of or we do not see. That would mean that this is a state that he had won in 2020. This is the only battleground state that he won in 2020. So if he is going there, that means that he senses a little bit of a trouble in that state. It doesn't mean that he's going to lose. I think it's getting tighter. And if they look at their internal numbers and also the early votes where I showed you the gender gap, I think they are a little bit concerned. But that doesn't mean Kamala Harris is going to win. But you have to align this with what happened over the weekend in Iowa. The poll from the Des Moines Register poll run by Ann Stelzer suggested that the women are voting for Kamala Harris in big numbers. Not only that, seniors are voting in good numbers for Kamala Harris. And then she also said that independent women, people who are not affiliated with any party, they are voting in larger numbers for Kamala Harris. So if you take that and just try to apply that formula in North Carolina, even if Ann Stelzer is kind of off by 2-3 points or even 5 points among those independent women, it still says that something is happening among independent women in this country in this election cycle. So again, my guess is it's related to the Roe v. Wade overturning decision that the Supreme Court made. And remember, this is the first presidential election after that decision by the Supreme Court. So yes, we had a midterm election after that decision by the Supreme Court, but we did not have a presidential election. So I'm going to watch those numbers very closely tomorrow as the results come in. But at this juncture, I will still call it as too close to call. But I should be, from my perspective, I should be able to make some kind of a determination by around 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. tomorrow about these battleground states. So I'm going to most likely come back with another episode by 4 p.m. tomorrow, USA Eastern Time, with my thoughts on all the 7 battleground states. But that doesn't mean that's how it's going to play out. But I'm just going to present my thoughts and my opinions on my opinion on who is going to win. Or I might even come back and say it's still a tie. But that's what I'm going to do. In between, I might do a program on Georgia and Pennsylvania tomorrow morning. I'm trying to analyze the data on Georgia and Pennsylvania as well. And if I have time, I will be doing a program on those 2 states. So before I go, again, tomorrow is the election day. It's very important that you guys go ahead and vote. It doesn't matter whom you vote for. Please go ahead and vote. And with that, I would like to close the program today, and I will come back to you with another episode tomorrow. Till then, take care.